truth. The diner smelled of sizzling bacon and fresh coffee, the kind of place that carried the warmth of familiarity for anyone who walked through its doors. Truth. It was the kind of establishment where truckers stopped in after long highway stretches, where families came for Saturday morning pancakes, where regulars sat in the same booths for years. But on this particular morning, the quiet hum of clinking dishes and low conversation was broken by something unusual. A waitress balancing 3 plates with one hand, wrapped in a rough bandage. She moved slower than the others, her face pale with effort, but wearing a smile so determined it almost hurt to watch. Every step she took was careful, deliberate, as if the world didn't need to know how much pain she was in. And most people didn't notice. Customers called for refills, asked for ketchup, waved her down for napkins, never once questioning why she kept her right hand tucked close to her side, or why she winced each time she lifted the heavy coffee pot. Except for one man. He sat at the corner booth. A plain baseball cap pulled low, a flannel shirt that blended him into the crowd. Nobody recognized him, though they should have. To the world outside, he was a successful businessman. The owner of a chain of diners, just like this one. But here, he was undercover, wanting to see his restaurant not as an owner, but as a customer. Truth. He believed you learned more about people when they thought no one important was watching. And right now, all his attention was fixed on the young waitress with the broken hand. She couldn't have been more than 23. Her name tag read Maya. She had a kind of tired beauty, the kind you see in someone who has known more responsibility than most at her age. Her ponytail had started to loosen, a few strands falling around her face, but her smile never slipped, even when her injured hand made the simplest tasks, like carrying a tray or wiping a table, agonizing. The man noticed something else. Each time Maya left a table with tips, instead of slipping the bills into her apron like the others, she carefully folded them and tucked them into a worn envelope hidden near the register. No one else seemed to notice, but he did. And curiosity gnawed at him. When she approached his table, her left hand balancing a coffee pot, he asked softly, "Rough morning?" Her eyes flickered with surprise at his tone. Most customers weren't gentle. They wanted quick service, hot food, nothing more. But she nodded and said, "Oh, it's just a little harder to manage today." "Coffee?" He nodded, watching as she poured, her bandaged hand trembling, as she steadied the pot with her other arm. "You should be resting that hand," he said carefully. A shadow crossed her face, but she smiled anyway. Resting doesn't pay bills. It was such a simple statement, but it struck him like a hammer. For the next hour, he stayed, quietly observing. Maya checked on tables, even when other waitresses avoided the demanding ones. She stopped to kneel down and talk to a little boy who dropped his pancake, offering to bring another free of charge. She noticed when an elderly woman's hands shook too hard to cut her food, and without making a show of it, she asked if she could help. The woman's grateful smile nearly brought tears to his eyes. Here she was, with one hand broken, carrying the weight of everyone else with the other. Finally, when Maya disappeared into the back, the undercover owner followed quietly, slipping past the swinging kitchen doors. He saw her lean against the counter, breathing hard, her good hand pressed against her side, as if she might crumble if she let go. The manager barked at her from across the room. "Maya! You're moving too slow again. Table 7's been waiting 10 minutes. "I'm sorry," she whispered, clutching the coffee pot tighter. "I'll get to it right now." The owner stepped back, heart pounding with a mix of anger and admiration. That night, after the diner closed, he didn't leave. He waited. He watched as Maya finished wiping tables, long after the others clocked out. When she thought she was alone, she reached under the counter, pulling out the envelope, stuffed with her tips. She slid a folded picture inside, a photo of two small children, and kissed it gently before tucking the envelope back into its hiding spot. His breath caught. The realization washed over him. Those tips weren't for her. They were for them. "Maya," he said softly, stepping out from the shadows. She jumped, startled, clutching the envelope close to her chest. "Oh, sir. I didn't realize anyone was still here. I'll be out in just a second, I promise. I'm just finishing up." "You don't have to explain," he said gently. "But I need to ask. Why are you working like this? With your hand, with everything, why push yourself so hard?" Her eyes filled with tears. She tried to blink away. For a long moment, she said nothing. Then, with a shaky breath, she whispered, "Because my little brother and sister need me. I'm all they've got." The words hung heavy in the air. She told him about the car accident that had taken her parents a year ago. About how she'd fought to keep her siblings out of foster care. About the endless nights of double shifts. The skipped meals. The broken hand she never got treated, because the hospital bill would mean no groceries for the week. Through it all, she kept going. She smiled for customers, laughed with her siblings, truth, and carried a world of responsibility no one else could see. The man was stunned. He had built diners across the country, priding himself on knowing what hard work looked like. But nothing, compared to the resilience of this young woman who gave everything without asking for anything back. That night, he made a decision. The next morning, when Maya walked into her shift, the same baseball-capped man was waiting. But this time, he wasn't sitting quietly in the corner. He was standing at the counter, speaking with the manager, and his presence sent whispers through the staff. When Maya approached, unsure, he removed his cap. And in that instant, recognition spread through the room. He wasn't just another customer. He was the owner. The man whose name was on every paycheck. Whose decisions shaped every diner. Maya froze, her bandaged hand trembling. You're, he smiled warmly. "Yes. And I owe you an apology. Because last night, I realized this place doesn't see you the way it should. But I did." The staff fell silent as he continued, his voice steady but emotional. "Maya, I saw you work through pain most people wouldn't endure. I saw you care for customers in ways no one asked you to. And I saw you sacrifice everything for family. That's not something you find every day. That's something extraordinary." Her eyes widened, tears slipping free despite her attempt to hold them back. He turned to the stunned manager. "She's not just a waitress. She's the reason people come back. From today forward, truth, she won't be carrying trays with a broken hand. She'll be training for management. At full pay, with benefits, and support for her siblings." Gasps rippled through the diner. Maya covered her mouth, shaking her head. "I don't deserve this." But he looked at her with a quiet certainty. "You've already earned it." And in that moment, with her broken hand trembling, her tired smile finally breaking into real joy, Maya realized she wasn't alone anymore. Someone had finally seen her. Maya's legs nearly gave out beneath her. For months, she had been living on the edge of exhaustion, surviving shift to shift, paycheck to paycheck, with no safety net beneath her. Now, in the span of seconds, everything shifted. Her coworkers clapped, some reluctantly, others with genuine smiles. The manager, red-faced and speechless, stammered something about misunderstandings. But the owner silenced him with a calm wave of his hand. "Maya," he said again, softer this time. "Your story is a reminder of why these diners even exist. They're supposed to be about people, about kindness, about neighbors looking out for one another. Somewhere along the way, we lost sight of that. But you brought it back." The tears she had been holding back spilled over. But for once, they weren't from exhaustion or fear. They were from relief. From gratitude. from the sudden, overwhelming sense that maybe, just maybe, her life didn't have to be a fight she fought alone. That afternoon, when she picked up her little brother and sister from school, they noticed immediately. "You're smiling," her sister said in wonder. "Like really smiling?" Maya laughed, the sound lighter than had been in a long time, and pulled them both into a hug. "Because today, everything changed for us." Within weeks, the promises made that morning came true. Her cast was replaced with proper medical care, all covered by her new insurance. The envelope she had once stuffed with wrinkled tips was replaced with a steady paycheck big enough to cover bills, groceries, and even a little savings. For the first time in months, she could breathe. But more than the money or the promotion, what mattered most was what the Undercover owner had given her: dignity. The reminder that her sacrifices hadn't gone unseen, that her kindness and resilience mattered in a world that often overlooked people like her. The diner changed too. Inspired by Maya's story, the owner introduced new policies: paid sick leave, medical coverage, and a culture that valued the staff not just as workers, but as people. Customers noticed the shift, business grew, and at the heart of it all was Maya, leading with the same compassion she'd always carried, only now without the weight of despair pressing on her shoulders. On the night she locked up the diner, as its new assistant manager, she paused, looking out at the neon sign glowing against the dark sky. Her brother and sister were waiting at home, probably already arguing over what movie to watch. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. Life always did. But for the first time since her parents' accident, Maya felt steady, safe, hopeful. And somewhere, she knew, there was a man in a baseball cap smiling too, proud that he had found not just an employee, truth, but the heart and soul of what his diners were meant to stand for all along. Maya tucked her keys into her pocket, whispered a quiet thank you to the night air, and walked home. Her broken hand healing, her spirit unbroken, her future wide open.